Do you constantly get tricked into falling for a guy before you realize all of his horrible character flaws? Don't you wish those men would just be upfront with you about who they really are so that you wouldn't even bother messing with him in the first place? Well, lucky for you, on today's show, we're going to be discussing what you must know about him before it's official. That way, you know exactly how to get him to reveal his true character to you. That way, you don't end up giving your mind, body, and soul to the wrong man. Welcome to the Players Club. If you're paying attention to me and everyone else in the live stream, please say here present so that I know you're here present and actively participating. Welcome, all you beautiful people. How are you guys doing today? It's so good to see you, and I'm so happy to be here with you. Okay, how you guys feeling today in the chat? I see we have SH is over here holding down us in the YouTube chat. TikTok chat. We also got Scotty here. I see Miss Keys here. We got Lee here. Who else is up in the chat? We got Elise here, Christina here, Fergie here, Peach is here, and much more. And over in the YouTube chat, we have Tracy Niles, who I believe was first today. We got Cashley. We got Jennifer. We got April. We, of course, got Ivy, Cashley's twin. We got Ash. And I believe I seen Enlighten A here earlier. Sweet is here. I see Tamika here. And, of course, we got Missy America holding us down in the YouTube chat. Okay, welcome all you beautiful people. Let's get started, and you know that we will discuss along the way. I got my actual water bottle today, not a mug. Okay, unless you guys like the mug, I can bring it back. All right, so let's get started with number one, which is going to be filtered versus unfiltered. Now, let's be very clear today. We want you to get you some good answers and good information when you're meeting him early on. When I say good information, let's be super duper clear. Good information is information that will help you make the decision on whether or not this is the guy you actually want to spend the rest of your life with. Now, good information is really going to be information that doesn't make him look his best, okay? I want you to understand that. Why? Because the information that doesn't make him look his best is the information that's the most valuable to you, because that will tell you, are you actually who I'm looking for, or do you know how to pretend to be who I'm looking for? Because the reality of it is everyone has flaws. Everyone is not perfect. And so the most important thing for you when you meet someone brand new and you start going out on dates with them is to understand the ways in which he is not perfect and figure out if that's something that you can work with, or if that's something you automatically know, yeah, I can't work with that. You understand what I'm saying? Right. So very important. Number one is going to be filtered and unfiltered. Now you're probably asking me, Thompson, I don't even get it. What does that mean? What I mean by filtered and unfiltered, you know how for example, if you were going to be in a forest, right? And you were in the middle of a forest, just like looking for something to drink, trying to stay alive, trying to get back to civilization. And you're trying to drink some good water that will keep you alive, not get you sick and unalive you. Okay. You're going to be looking for the ways in which you can filter water. So by boiling it, getting the bacteria out of it, maybe you got with you a little filtration packet. I've seen some amazing things. They got these little filtration packets. You pour it in the water and somehow it filtrates the water. It's amazing. Technology is amazing. My point being, in that if you're trying to survive, you're going to be trying to drink filtered water so that you can continue to survive along your journey back to civilization. And if you drink unfiltered water, it's going to hurt you, because even if it looks clear, even if it looks okay, it can still have a lot of bacteria and residue from sewers, from feces, from animals, all these different things that could hurt you by ingesting it, even if you can't see it, even if it doesn't look like it's dirty or look like it's nasty. There can still be a whole lot of bacterial residue inside the water that looks clean enough to drink. But the problem is, if you don't go through the proper steps of filtrating the water before you drink it, then you'll never actually know if what you're ingesting is going to hurt you until it begins hurting you. So it's the same thing with the guys that you're dating. You want to be sure that the person you're about to receive into you, because make no mistake, you are receiving that man into you. Your mind, your body, your soul, and your spirit is going to be receiving that man, especially when he's jackrabbing himself inside of you for 90 seconds or less, okay? You're going to be receiving him. And in the process of receiving him, once you have received him, if you realize that he is like a whole bunch of unfiltered water, he's got a whole bunch of residue and bacteria in him, a whole bunch of toxic traits, a whole bunch of trauma, all this stuff that you didn't want or weren't looking to bring into you, by the time you've already received him into you, it will be too late. You can't undo that process, okay? He will already have poisoned you and made you sick. I know it sounds crazy, but I really mean this in the analogy, right? And one of the most important pieces of residue you need to be looking out for on your very first dates, okay, hyper important. I want you listening from very early on today. One of the biggest pieces of information and residue you need to be aware of is, what is the status of your last relationship? Okay, we need to pause here because this is a mistake that a lot of you are making in your lives and in your dating and talking stages. See, you can never, ever, ever, ever build a relationship with someone who is emotionally unavailable. I feel like I haven't addressed this clearly enough for some of you, because I see this a question asked a lot in our Discord. Okay, for those of you who don't know what the Discord is, don't worry, you'll learn eventually. But I see this question asked a lot in our Discord. Basically, how can I attract an emotionally unavailable man? Or this man is still invested in his ex or his past girl or whatever it may be. I want to figure out how I can get him to focus on me and give me princess treatment instead of being so focused on on his past girl or his ex girl. And what I'm here to help you understand, okay? I don't know what other people might teach you. I'm just a regular human being. Other people might call themselves a dating guru, okay? I'm here to help you understand there is no quick fix or fix at all, even in general, to being with someone who is emotionally unavailable. If the man that you are seeing or dating is still actively emotionally invested in his ex, or even in worst case scenarios, which we've had some worst case scenarios even in our Discord, he is actually still dating his soon to be ex, you will never get the best out of that man. Do you understand what I'm saying? And you will only put yourself in a position where down the road, you will be frustrated with the status of your relationship and how it's going, because it's not going well. Why? Because that man can't properly invest himself into you because he's actively invested into another woman. Okay, as human beings, we're only capable of giving so much of our time, energy, and focus into things. So it's impossible to be actively emotionally invested in someone else and while trying to build a new relationship with someone new, especially because the someone new you're never going to be as invested in as the person that you spent years and months or have built all these memories with, right? So I want you to understand, are you filtered water or unfiltered water? Do you have a whole bunch of, maybe residue existing within you from your past relationship that maybe I can't see because I'm just on a first date with you, but I must understand exists within you before I make my commitment to you and allow myself to receive you into me? Because once you sleep with the man, only to realize afterwards that he still has feelings for his ex, and only to realize at that point that he still feels like he wants to be with her, and he still feels like he wants to date her, and he still feels like, well, we're not seeing each other right now, but if we were to ever fix any of our issues, then I would go right back to her and I would abandon you. If you're only realizing that after you slept with him and after you've received him into you, well, then you've made a mistake, because you can't undo receiving him into you, but you also can't undo the process of him having all of this residue from his past relationship still inside of him while you're trying to build a relationship with him. Okay, it's like drinking filtered water versus drinking unfiltered water. Once you digest it and it gets you sick, you can't undo digesting it and receiving it into you. So I want you to be very cognizant of that. And this is why I put it number one, okay? Because the very, very first thing you need to be understanding, do you have residue still within you from your past relationship that you haven't worked through and haven't filtered through you that is leading to you being something that I cannot receive into me or ingest into me? Because I would be putting myself through pain and suffering, ingesting into me and committing myself to someone who is actively not emotionally available. And I can't stress this enough to all of you beautiful souls. You will never listen to me. You will never listen to me so closely and carefully. You will never force someone to be emotionally available, nor will you be able to speed someone up into becoming more emotionally available. Okay? You're never going to speed someone up into getting over their ex if they're not already over their ex. You're never going to speed someone up, for some of you maniacs. You're never going to speed someone up into, getting over the girlfriend that he's still his girlfriend, that he's still in a relationship with any quicker. You're never going to speed up the woman that is his wife, technically, that he's saying he's going to divorce soon. You're never going to speed him up in that process before he's actually ready to do so. Any guys that will try to convince you that you're capable of speeding him up are just lying to you, and they're selling you a dream so that you can sit around sniffing on hopium, as we call it in the Players Club, hoping for the day in which that is actually a reality. But it never will be a reality. I'm here to tell you and make you very aware of that, okay? So do not make the mistake of dating or even beginning to invest yourself in someone before you're hyper aware of whether or not they are still have residue from their past relationship within them. Okay. Jacquelita says, where's the picture? Maybe I'll bring the picture back tomorrow. Okay. If you guys love the picture. Okay. And it's hyper important. I never want you to forget this. And I want this obviously this is number one for a reason, because I want this to be stuck in your brain. None of anything else you're going to try and build with someone is going to work if that person is actively still emotionally invested in their ex. I know. Listen, I'm just like you. I'm a human being. I've gone on dates too. I've used dating apps too. So I know that it's painful for you to go on a date thinking, I want to make this all about me. I want to yap about me. I want to share about me. I want to talk about how amazing I am. I want you to tell me how amazing I am. And so the last thing you want to do when you go out on a date with a new person is have them talk all about their old person. You're like, that's past news. We don't want to talk about, why am I sitting here talking to him about a girl that he is maybe still in love with, Tomisin? I don't want to hear that. That's painful for me, and I don't care about that. I want him to tell me how much he loves me. But here's the thing. At the end of the day, you're going to find out one way or another how much he loves his ex or doesn't. You're going to figure that out one way or another. Either it's going to be presented to you over time by trying to build a relationship with him and being frustrated while trying to build something with him because you realize down the road, based on his actions and based on you catching him texting his ex and based on you catching him meeting up with his ex, that, oh, you're actually not over her. Excuse me. And you're actually still in love with her, right? You're either going to realize it that way down the road after you've invested years of your life into him or months of your life into him, and after you've spread your legs wide open and allowed him to jackrabbit himself inside of you for 90 seconds, then you'll realize it, or you're going to realize it on these first couple of dates before you allow him inside of you, before you invest months or years of your life into him. And when you realize that, you'll say to yourself, thank you very much, sir. I'm so glad you shared this information with me. I'm going to gracefully take several steps back. I'm going to lean all the way back, just like Fat Joe said in the song. I'm going to lean back. I'm going to relax, and I'm going to take myself far away from you because you are not at all ready emotionally to be in a new relationship, okay? And I want you to realize that for you, that is a win. Never feel to yourself, I'm scared of realizing that the person I want to build a relationship with is emotionally unavailable. That's such a win for you, because the quicker you can realize that and the quicker you can understand that is way better for you, because that's way less time spent wasted. Right? And the less time you spend living in your Delulu land, believing what you want to believe instead of actually extracting facts from him, that is way worse for you, because then you'll be wasting months, if not years, and for some of you people in horror stories, decades of your life on someone who is not emotionally invested in you and actively emotionally invested in someone else. Okay. Cash Money says, just ask him. It's easier said than done, which is why we're having this conversation, which is why I want you guys to understand its importance. Don't let anyone else convince you that the best way to have a first date is to be easygoing, not ask tough questions, and just bat your eyelashes and flip your hair a whole bunch of times and wear your tightest pair of jeans so he can see your dump truck. That's not how you're going to actually get somewhere that you want to go. You always need to, I never want you to forget, the most important tool in your tool belt and resource that you have is always information. Never, ever, ever get tired of receiving information. You need to be getting information 24/7, 365 days a year. You need to be thinking about, how do I extract more and more information? Because information is the only thing that allows you to make good decisions based on the information that you have in hand. If you don't have factual, truthful, and accurate information, you will never be able to make decisions for yourself and for this relationship that you're trying to build with any sort of accuracy. You'll only be basing it off of what you want to believe. And the worst part about believing what you want to believe and acting on what you want to believe is, down the line, you will eventually realize the truth and you'll be gobsmacked, dumbfounded. You'll be thrown aback by what the reality of your situation is after you realize the truth. So you never, ever, ever want to get tired or forget that you need to be at all times, especially at the very beginning, extracting information. And even to the point where part of your seductiveness, part of your femininity, part of what makes you attractive, you want to be utilizing that even to your advantage to do what? To extract more information that is factual and accurate, okay? Not information that you want to hear, not information that makes you feel good, but the information that you can actually utilize to understand the guy that you're on a date with. I should rephrase that. To understand the stranger that you're on a date with. Because make no mistake about it, when you meet someone for the first time or you're getting to know someone, they all start off as strangers. Never forget that. So you need to be extracting information from the strangers that you're dealing with in order to understand, is this stranger someone I want to commit myself to and allow him to jackrabbit himself inside of me for 90 seconds or less? Or am I not going to be committing myself to you because you're not who I'm looking for and you're not even in the mind state that I am looking for in a partner? Very, very important. You understand these things way, way before you ever become official with this guy. Don't ever forget that. Right? SH says, I don't extract information anymore. I fully distance myself from the dating life. Well, that's a mistake, because I'm not telling you guys to not date people and I'm not telling you guys to not explore relationships. However, I'm making you guys aware of the different obstacles you're going to come across while dating people. And I'm trying to jump ahead of a lot of the things that you guys are going to see if you go out on your dates naive, just thinking this is only for the purpose of this is just for me to yap about myself, talk about myself, make myself feel good and feel good on this date. And then down the line, you realize, oh, damn. I'm learning so much about you that I wish I would have known before. Never forget this, guys. And I'll say this to you guys till the end of time. People are not going to come on dates with you or hangouts with you or meetings with you and tell you all the reasons that you shouldn't want to date them. It does not make logical sense. Of course, they want you to be attracted to them. Of course, they want you to want them. Of course, they want to be desirable to you. And if they want to be desirable to you, then they're going to do their best to make themselves desirable by only sharing with you the parts of themselves that they think make themselves look the most desirable. And they're subsequently also going to hold back on telling you a lot of things that would make them look undesirable. Okay, never forget that. So it becomes your job and your job alone to extract factual and truthful information. Okay, right? Number one was filtered and unfiltered in terms of whether or not he has residue from his ex. Now, number two, I want you to understand before it's official whether he is living his life like a maze or living his life like a path. Now, let me explain this more in depth. See, the same way when you enter a maze from the start, you're not really going to be able to see exactly where it is that these different paths you could take are going to end you up. When you're entering a maze, there's a whole bunch of different options and places to go. You can go left, right, up, down, center, square, middle, I don't know, right? And you're going to be picking what way to go, but you don't know if the way that you're picking to go is going to end you up in any particular destination. So what do? You just go. You just try things out. You just go in any direction. You just, whatever life takes you, you just decide to go somewhere. And sometimes you end up in a dead end. In fact, majority of the time you end up in a dead end. And Miss Nikki just said it. And sometimes you even end up going backwards in the maze. And the maze can become so confusing that literally in the span of you trying to get to some destination that you're unaware of in the maze that you can't even see because you're in a maze, you'll end up just going in circles, moving backwards, going round and round, not realizing that you haven't actually made any progress towards anything. You're moving, not knowing where you're going and not knowing where you're going to end up. So that's a maze. Now, on the opposite side of the spectrum, you want to understand if he's living his life like a path, meaning if he knows where his destination is going to be. And so the path just becomes the road in which he's going to take to get to his destination. Okay, right? And whether or not he knows exactly every obstacle he's going to face on the path or know exactly how he's going to solve all of the solutions that might come across him on this path, he knows his path and he knows his destination of where he wants to be, i.e. he has direction. So you need, okay, this is where I'm going to get mad. I know a lot of you are so sick of being with men where they can't take initiative in your dating stage, whether it be with taking you out on dates, whether it be with even letting you know what he wants out of this, letting you know what his intentions are. And I know that a lot of you are super duper frustrated dealing with men that can't take initiative and can't be a leader and can't just tell you what they want or know what they want. I'm here to tell you that this is not an accident, and this is 100% correlated to how he already lives his life. Never, ever, forever, ever, never forget how someone does life is how they'll do relationships. So if you want to better understand what his real intentions are, because this is the truth. When you ask a guy, what do you want out of a relationship, they're all going to tell you when they're sitting out on a date with you, they're all going to tell you, oh, I love something serious. I'm looking for something serious. I'm looking for something serious. I'm looking for a girlfriend. I'm looking for something long-term. They're all going to tell you the same cookie cutter answer. Why? Because that's the answer they anticipate you want to hear, and that's the answer they anticipate is going to get themselves to be able to insert themselves inside your warm squirtle. Okay? So they tell you that because that's the cookie cutter answer that they're assuming you already want to hear. I say that to say that doesn't serve you because you're not actually gathering factual and accurate information. You're gathering information that has been curated specifically for you so that it's what you want to hear so he can jackrabbit himself inside of you. Now, what you need to be doing is extracting information in ways that he doesn't know you're extracting information, so he ends up accidentally telling you the real information. So let me explain this even in more depth. When we're talking about understanding whether or not he has a path mindset or he's living his life like a maze, you need to be asking him not about what he wants out of a relationship. You need to be understanding what he wants out of his own life. Stay with me here, okay? You need to have a very, very crystal clear understanding before you become official with this man or even think about it or consider it. You need to understand, what does he want out of his own life? If you try to ask him and get a better understanding of what he wants out of his own life, and his response is, I don't really know. I don't really know. I'm kind of just working odd jobs to make some money here and there. And, you know, if something better comes up, then I'll do something better. If nothing better comes up, I guess I'll still keep working that same job. I don't know. Where do I want to be in 5? I like playing video games. I want to be rich. How do I want to be rich? I don't know. Making money. How? Get better jobs. I don't know, man. Travel. I don't know, man. I'll just do stuff. I don't really care. It's not that big a deal. It's not really that serious for me to think about right now. When you start hearing things like that, or you start hearing a guy talk like that about his own life, that is the key. That is your key right there. Key right there to understanding he ain't gonna have no sort of intention when it comes to your relationship. Not even a lick, not a little bit. Because already with himself and his own life, he can't have a pathway to success or a destination to shoot for. So how on God's green earth is he possibly supposed to have a path to success for you and this relationship? He can't. So this is where you need to start thinking to yourself, when there's a misalignment between how he goes about his life and how he says he wants to go about this relationship, you need to understand that there's misalignment because that's untrue. How he goes about his life is going to represent how he actually goes about his relationship. Let me let you in on a secret. Me and you will just share a little secret here. Don't tell anyone that I told you. Shh. There is no man that is capable of having zero direction in his life and then having so much direction with you in the relationship. 100,000% of the time, there will always be a direct correlation to the men who are intentional with their life and the men who are capable of being intentional with you in the relationship. There will never be a period of time or a place or a circumstance of which a man can be intentional about you, but be unintentional about his life. Okay? I want you to understand that. Now, vice versa, I also want to make you aware, not every man that is capable of being intentional about his life will necessarily be intentional about you in the relationship. But I do want you to understand that on the opposite effect, it is correlated, meaning the men who cannot be intentional about their life will never be able to be capable of being intentional with you in the relationship. It has to start with how much direction and how much of a path he lives his own life with versus living his life in a maze. Okay. So Star says, brings up a great point. She says, but Tomisin, the ones that are intentional of their life are not focusing on relationships. Yes, they're not. Why? Because chasing around women, like just in general, is a distraction to them. Now, pursuing the right woman when they come across the right woman is not a distraction. See, the men who are intentional about their own, okay, so this is where everything comes in, and I'm so glad you asked that question. This is where everything comes in, because the men who are very intentional about their own life will not just be chasing around any woman. They will also be on dates or building relationships only with people that they see a long-term future with, because they don't like to waste their time on things that they don't actually feel benefit them in the long run. So if they don't feel like being in a relationship with you or building something with you would benefit him in the long run because you're not what he's looking for, then he wouldn't waste his time chasing or pursuing after you. Do you understand that? And I know that sounds like I'm attacking you, but I'm not. What I'm trying to help you understand is it's amazing to be with men who are intentional about their life. Why? Because by the time they're building something with you, they're only going to have the desire to build something with you if they can also identify within you that you have the character traits and qualities that they're looking to build something long-term with. And they're not going to be interested in just sitting around and playing around and messing around for months, not knowing where things are going because they don't have time for that. Do you understand what I'm saying? Right? And so, yes, intentional men are going to be less likely to just be actively seeking any relationship in any circumstance. They're going to be seeking the right relationship in the right circumstance and the right situation because they live their life so intentionally. Okay? So a function of who he is in his personality will also be a function of how your relationship ends up based on how he goes about it and how he approaches it. I want you to start seeing the correlation there because that will also help you understand how to properly extract information from people in a way that where they don't realize that you're extracting information. Because I always tell you guys, relationships are like war. That's probably going to be the title of my book, okay? Why relationships are war. But I say that to say, you need to understand people are never going to just openly tell you all the ways that they're about to take advantage of you, or all the ways that you probably won't want to date them, or all the ways that you probably are like, they're going to only give you information that sounds good whenever you ask them directly about how they feel about a relationship or what they want in this relationship. You got to get strategic about understanding the correlation between how people live life and how people approach relationships to understand how to extract information from people in ways where they don't realize that they're actually giving you the real information accidentally. Okay? Right? Right? Does that make sense? JD says, my partner just talking, but no facts, just false promises. Well, that's the thing. And that's the really amazing part about, amazing, I guess we could call it, part about when you ask people, hey, how do you feel about me? Or what do you want in this relationship? Because people are being directly asked how they feel about you or this relationship, they're more inclined to lie to you because they know you're asking that question because you want to gauge their interest in you or what they want from you. So when they lie to you, it benefits them because they get to tell you what you want to hear, hoping they can extract something from you. Now, vice versa, when you ask them a question that's indirectly related to how they'll treat you in this relationship, but they don't realize that it's related to how you'll treat them in this relationship, they end up answering most of the time honestly, too honestly, to the point where they don't realize they just revealed a lot of information about how they'll actually treat you. This is why it's amazing, and this is why we call it the Players Club, because then you understand how you can start to massage and manipulate situations to actually get what you want, and what you want in this scenario is to extract real and factual information, not lies. Okay? Someone says, do you have an example? I'll give you an example of a great question that you can ask a guy. So to understand if he is a maze type of guy or if he's a path type of guy. And some of you that have been in the Players Club know the question that I'm about to ask. It's a great question and it'll help you every time. So this question goes, and I want you to write this down or type this out if you want this question for yourself. The question goes, if you're on a date with a guy, you ask him, if money wasn't an issue, and you could spend the rest of your life doing anything that your heart desires, what would you be doing? It's a great question. I'm going to repeat it again. If money wasn't an issue and you could spend the rest of your life doing anything your heart desires, what would you be doing? The reason it's such a great question is because when you eliminate the possibility of making money, because a lot of people are going to say, I just make money for the rest of my life, you actually get down to the root of, okay, so what do you think you're even here for? What value do you think you bring to the world? How do you think you contribute to society? What do you think your purpose is? What do you enjoy? What are you passionate about? These are the type of answers you're going to get out. You're supposed to get out of that question. Now, if you're with a man who's more of a maze man and less of a path man, he's going to give you an answer that isn't really an answer. He's going to say things like, I don't know. I've never really thought about that. I guess I would just live life, go on vacation 24/7. I would just, travel. I don't know, just see the world, vacation all the time, tan all day, eat food all day, right? That's not real direction, okay? That's not a real path forward to anything, okay? And these are part of the things that you'll start to realize, you don't even know what you want out of life. You don't know why you're here. You don't know what you want to be doing. You don't know what you want to spend your time doing. You just either chase money, which is not good, or you're aimlessly moving around life, not sure where it is that you should be, okay? Now, I want to be honest with you. This is majority of men, okay? So there's actually going to be a very small minority of men who actually know what their purpose is, what they're passionate about, or what direction they even want to move in. However, it's very important for you, you're not trying to date majority of men, you're trying to date only one man. So you want to be very aware of, does that man have direction in his life? Does he have any sort of focus in any one place where he's moving in a path forward towards something? Okay. Right. Gigi says, another question, if you could do a TED talk on anything besides career stuff, what would it be? That's another interesting one. Okay. All of these different, and you'll start to get an understanding, like that's a real good start off question. And I know because you guys want direct examples and direct questions to like write down in your notebook. But as you get good at this, you'll understand even how to ask other follow-up questions that are also related to getting a better understanding of, okay, do you have a path forward in life, or are you living life like a maze where you just kind of go in any direction that you feel like going, not knowing if that's ever going to lead you to any real destination? You understand what I'm saying? And you really, I need to stress this to you so much, because you, the woman, you can fall very victim to this if you end up with a man with no direction. You need to be hyper aware if the man you're dating is moving forward in a path, or if he's just living his life in a maze. Because if he's living his life in a maze, he's going to grab your hand and you're going to be following him around for years in a maze, never going anywhere, not even realizing that you're going in circles or moving backwards. Okay? I need to make you very hyper aware. You're going to be following that man wherever, not that you won't have your own direction and your own goals, but I want you to understand, if he's the leader of the relationship, if he's the head of the house, you and your children are going to be led by him in whatever direction he's going. So he can grab your hand and he can lead you straight off of a cliff. So it's hyper important for you when you're interviewing the right candidate for the job, which is the job of being your man and your boyfriend, that you understand, are you capable of leading me in the right direction, a good direction that's going to lead to success and prosperity? Or are you aimlessly wandering around and eventually you'll just wander us off of a cliff? Okay? Right? Does that make sense? Meant to be something says something about women do not have to be led. I am the head of my household. I am the breadwinner. That's 100% fine. If you want to be the leader of your house and the breadwinner, you should go find you a feminine man that will follow you in everything that you do. It's probably not the place for you though, because I don't think that that's how, majority of us are feeling about that. But if you want a feminine man that you can lead and you be the head of the household and the breadwinner and you tell him what to do, go find a feminine man, go take him out on lots of dates, make sure you tip the waitress, make sure you get nice outfits for him, and make sure you pay all the bills on time. I'm so happy for you. Okay? I have no problem if any of you want to be the leader in your relationship and be the head. I don't have a problem with that. This is probably not the place for you though. Okay? More power to you, like Monica said. So, number one, filtered and unfiltered. Maze or path. Okay? Now, number three, I want us to discuss whether he is counterfeit or crumpled. Okay? Right? So this also might not make a lot of sense to you. Now, I want you to understand, when you meet people for the first time and you start trying to build relationships with them, of course, you're never going to meet someone who is perfect. It's impossible. That's just not how life works. Now, in the process of you meeting people that aren't perfect, see, the thing about it is you're also not perfect. You also have your own ways of going about things. You also have your own things that are really important to you or not. Now, the thing about that is you have to understand, because you're different, he's different, and everyone is different. Not all the time are the things that are character flaws or personality flaws or quirks about him will necessarily be things that just absolutely can't work for you. Are you following me? The same way you have character flaws, you have personality quirks. For some people, that might be a deal breaker depending on who they are. And for other people, that might be just a quirk that they can work with that is not necessarily that big of a deal. Okay, I'll give you an example of something. Let's just say, in an extreme sense, you're someone who has like neat freak OCD. You need everything to have a place. You need everything to be super shiny. You need everything to be absolutely spotless. okay? And you literally will freak out and lose your mind. You won't be able to work. You won't be able to think. You won't be able to live if everything is not absolutely spotless and put in its place, clean and pristine. Let's just say you have a crazy OCD like that. For someone like you, a deal breaker might be, you know what, I'm a little bit messy. When I get to working, I kind of just leave, my clothes everywhere, and I don't really hang up my clothes. And I know it's one of my issues that I can't really, put things away all the time. So that's one of my things. If you have crazy OCD and you literally can't fathom the idea of some underwear being on the floor, and he's telling you he's a pretty messy person, that's a sign to you that these character flaws or personality traits about him are things that will not work for you at all. At all. You're not going to be able to deal with them. You're not going to be able to compromise with them. You're not going to be able to work with them. They just won't work for you. Now, vice versa, if you're someone who just says, I would like to live in a clean house, in a clean environment, and I would like things to be put away. But honestly, there are times in my own life where I get stressed out. And, sometimes I don't always clean the best either. Sometimes I leave dishes in the sink. And sometimes, I'm just, so stressed out that I don't leave things up clean and pristine. And someone else, let's say for the sake of argument, on a date with you, lets you know that, sometimes they can be a bit messy, but they usually don't let things get too far gone. You might say to yourself, being messy, of course, isn't ideal, but it's not a deal breaker for me. It's not something that the fact that you might be a little bit messy sometimes is literally going to make me lose my mind to the point where I can't even be in a relationship with you. So the reason I call it counterfeit or crumpled is because you need to understand, hey, the person you are and the way you are, is it something that I can work with? Or do you the character flaws that you have, the quirks that you have, am I capable of withstanding them or working with them in a relationship? Am I capable of compromising with that or working alongside that? Or are those flaws things that I can't stand, I can't work with? It's not possible, okay? And some people that you meet when you're dating them, see, the thing is, like I said, you always want to be extracting information. So when you meet people and you're extracting information, you want to be extracting the information that are part of the things that don't make him look amazing and don't make him look awesome and don't make him look like the best thing since sliced bread. As you're extracting that truthful and accurate information, you then need to be deciding for yourself based on what you want. I didn't say based on what your mom wants. I didn't say based on what your sister wants. I didn't say based on what your best friends wants. Based on what you want, you need to be deciding for yourself, are these character traits, are they something that, just make you a little bit rough around the edges, or are these things something that makes you absolutely not who I'm looking for? Okay? The same way, and the reason I call it counterfeit or crumpled is because when you go to the bank, if you are going to give the bank some dollar bills, there's nothing necessarily wrong with giving them a bunch of crumpled, dirty dollar bills. You understand what I'm saying? Because giving them crumpled and dirty dollar bills doesn't make those dollar bills unacceptable. Do you understand what I'm saying? The bank teller at the bank is still going to accept your dollar bills, even though they're crumpled, they're dirty, they're mashed up, they look mangled, just not pristine and clean. Even if they're crumpled and dirty, the bank teller will still accept them because that is real money. However, even if those bills are clean and pristine, if you hand the bank teller monopoly money, the bank teller is not going to accept monopoly money. Doesn't matter how neat it is. Doesn't matter how freshly pressed it is. It doesn't matter how nice and neat the print is on the monopoly money. That bank teller is not going to accept that counterfeit monopoly money as real deal cash. Are you following what I'm saying? So I say that to say you need to decide for yourself, are these quality traits within you? Are these just things that make you a little bit crumpled up and dirty and rough around the edges, but I can still accept? Or are these traits about you things that make you like counterfeit money, where regardless of how clean and pristine you can make it, how amazing you can dress it up, or how light it might be, I cannot accept that in any capacity. It's just not going to work for me whatsoever. And this is where you have to step in for yourself and start asking yourself a couple of key questions that you probably haven't been asking yourself, which is, what do you really want? What do you really want out of a relationship? What are you really looking for in a man? And what works for you and what doesn't? Because you have to understand you're a unique human being. You're a unique person. You have unique experiences. You grew up with a unique set of parents and siblings in a unique environment. So the way that you view life is never going to be one for one exactly how someone else views life. That's fine. You need to decide for yourself, what are the most important values to you? What is most important to you? What are you seeking out in a partner? What are things that you can work with, and what are things that you cannot work with? If you need to write these things down in a book so that you never forget them and they can be like your Bible, like your scripture, then do that. So that you never mistake or, allow your mind to play tricks on you where you forget what it is that you're looking for. And that way, when you're meeting people, this is part of why it's so important to understand this before things become official, because you need to be actually acknowledging to yourself, do you consist of character traits that I can actually build a relationship off of? And I know this sounds, but Thompson, that's so basic. Who doesn't think that when they're on dates? I can assure you, when you're on a date and you really like a guy and you really want to like this guy, or you really want this to go well, your mind is going to be playing a whole bunch of tricks on you where all you're going to be focused on is how good it feels to be on this date. And a lot of times, as things are going on, you're only going to be focused on how good it feels to have that euphoric feeling when you're around him, laughing and giggling and spending time together. And then eventually, when he jackrabbits himself inside of you, all you're going to be remembering is how amazing it felt for him to jackrabbit himself inside of you. And you're not going to be thinking to yourself, but wait, the person that you are, can I actually work with that? Or is the person that you are someone that I wouldn't even want to be in a relationship with? And the reason I'm pointing that out to you is because for a lot of you, you realize that after you sleep with him, or after you invest a bunch of months and years into him, where you're saying, Tomisin, let me know why he acts like this, and why he disrespects me, and why he cheats on me, and why he's still talking to his ex, and why his best girlfriend is now all of a sudden telling him that he likes him, and they're spending time together and sleeping over in each other's beds. Explain to me why he's doing that. And I'm like, girl, you have to realize that the person that he is now is the person that he's always been. And you could have realized that by extracting information, but also you have to understand, if he was making some of these qualities that maybe you don't agree with now that you're his girlfriend, if he was making those clear before, those are things you should have been deciding to yourself, you say you don't mind having a best girlfriend that you sleep over at her house. Do I have a problem with that or no? Do I think that's appropriate or no? Because if I don't think that's appropriate, and I don't think that that's something that I'm willing to deal with, the idea that you're going to be sleeping over in your best girlfriend's bed because you guys have known each other since you were young, since the sandbox, if I think that's inappropriate and I don't agree with that and I'm not willing to tolerate that, why am I investing myself in someone who has morals and values that are so drastically different from me that we would never be able to compromise? Because when you think it's inappropriate for him to have this best girlfriend that he sleeps over at her place or spends one-on-one time with, and he thinks that it's appropriate to sleep in the same bed with her booty shorts on and him in his underwear because they're all best friends, then you have such a drastic difference in your viewpoints and your perspective. There is no real compromise there, to be honest with you. And I say that to say you have to understand, with some people that you meet, there are going to be certain sets of values that they have or morals that they have that are so far misaligned from what you believe in and what you want for yourself and your relationship that there is no compromise to find a middle ground. And that's fine, but the quicker you can realize that, the quicker you can realize, is the person that's sitting in front of me that I'm on a date with, are they counterfeit? Or are they just a little rough around the edges and crumpled up a little bit? Okay? Rosie says triggering, best to leave in that situation. It is best to leave in that situation, but it's, of course, like we always talk about in the Players Club, it's easier said than done. Obviously, you're not in love with me, so it's easier to say, Thompson, if a guy ever did that to me or said that to me, I would leave in an instant. It's a lot harder to say that when you're on a date with the guy or you've been dating a guy that you like and you want things to work out and you want this relationship to work out. So when he tells you things like that or he shares those points of views, rather than saying, oh my God, you're absolutely not who I'm looking for, you start to say to yourself, I don't like that, but maybe let's just not talk about that and ignore that and not deal with that right now. Instead of dealing with that right now, we'll just, table that discussion for like never. In fact, let's not bring it up until it becomes a crazy issue that we can no longer deal with and leads to us ending this relationship. So let's just pretend like that didn't happen. Okay. But you always end up having to deal with it eventually. Okay. Gigi says, what if I'm naturally flirty? Do I tone that down so I'm taken more seriously? Well, I don't necessarily think you have to change yourself, but when you say flirty, I mean, the person that you're on a date with, there's nothing wrong with being flirty with the person you're on a date with. Now, if you're talking about you're so flirty to the point where when you're in a relationship, it becomes a problem, then that might be a behavior that you might have to talk to your partner about and figure out exactly what makes them uncomfortable and figure out what the middle ground is. You understand what I'm saying? Because you don't have to tone down being flirty to someone that you're on a date with, but obviously if you're else and you're flirty with people that aren't your boyfriend, that's going to be an issue. Okay. But does that make sense to you guys so far? The difference between someone being counterfeit and someone being crumpled, and why that's so important to understand for yourself and understand if the person that you're with has flaws that you can deal with and work with, or if the person that you're with has flaws that make them impossible to build a relationship with for you, or just in general. Okay. All right. So number one was filtered and unfiltered. Number two, the maze or the path. Number three, let's talk about, we talked about the crumpled or the counterfeit type of man. Now, number four, this is going to sound funny. You need to know, right? Mahin says, can you give a little bit more examples? I'll make sure to give a lot of examples for this one. Now, you need to understand, is he tamed or untamed? Now, I know that men aren't wild animals, even though they might seem that way sometimes. But you need to understand, when you're dating a man and you're trying to build a relationship with a man, one of the most important things that you should be hyper aware of and know whether this is true or not is whether or not he understands how to control his emotions. Okay? I know this sounds really simple, but you need to be aware that there are a lot of men out there that are incapable of controlling their emotions. Okay? Here's the thing. As the masculine energy in your relationship, unless you're like, I forgot her name, who said she wants to be the breadwinner and she wants to be the head of the house. She's the masculine energy, okay? Assuming you want to be the feminine energy in your relationships, you need to understand that your man as the masculine energy is not meant to be a force in your life that is like this, okay? He's not meant to be a roller coaster of emotions where he's up one day and he's down in the dumps the next day. Why? Because you need to have the space as the feminine energy to be up one day and down in the dumps the next day, and you need someone that's more stable to be able to balance you out. If you're both up one day and down the next day, there's going to be a whole lot of instability in your relationship. Okay, so you need to really be focusing on how good are you at being able to manage your emotions, understand your emotions, but also understand how you deal with them and how other people should deal with them. So someone said about giving a lot more examples. So I want to give you a real direct example of the difference between someone who understands how to deal with their emotions and manage them versus someone who doesn't understand how to do that. So here's a great question to ask a guy to get a gauge of if he's capable of understanding how to manage and maintain his emotions. Not that he doesn't feel emotions, but understanding how to manage them. So as he feels them, it's not like he's freaking out or going insane. Okay? A great question to ask a guy is, so explain to me when you're upset, and you're angry about something, let's say, someone does something to you that you don't appreciate, or you feel disrespected in your relationship, for example, or you're just, something has irked you that I've said to you or done to you. Explain to me, how would you best like to be dealt with when you're in the midst of like your anger or upsetness? Like when you're really having those emotions run through you. How do you want to be dealt with? Do you want me to sit down and talk to you? Do you want me to wait for you? Do you want me to just be quiet? Do you like to go for walks? Do you like to spend some time alone? Do you usually like to take an hour, listen to music? You go to do you like to drum? Do you like to play basketball? You like to work? Like, how do you manage emotions? And when you have a partner, how do you best like for your partner to approach you when you're trying to manage your anger or upsetness, or when you're having a whole bunch of overwhelming emotion? Everyone's different. And this is the thing that you have to understand. Literally, everyone is different. The same way they talk about, what is someone's love language? Each individual person has their own fight language, is what I call it. That's the term I made, okay? In their fight language, which is how they like to be dealt with when they're in a heightened emotional state, usually anger, okay? Right? And the thing about it is, if a guy is aware, is tamed, or if he's tamed, he'll be able to communicate to you how he likes to be dealt with when he is in that heightened emotional state. And he'll also be able to communicate to you how he deals himself with his own anger or heightened emotions. See, a man who is tamed in his emotions and understands how to manage his emotions will already have a strategy built out for himself on how he manages his emotions to keep himself leveled. A man who is untamed will not have any strategy for being able to maintain or keep his emotions leveled. And what do you think happens when he has no strategy to be able to maintain or manage his emotions? He will flip out, he'll go crazy, and you'll never know how to deal with him, because all of your fights will escalate to a point you never imagined they could go, and all of your issues will continue to pile and stack on top of themselves, and he'll blow up one day or multiple days, and things will just end up in a not good place for you and this relationship. So you really need to be hyper aware of whether this guy is tamed or untamed in his emotions. And even more specifically, you need to be aware of whether or not he has strategy towards how he manages his emotions. Like I said before, everyone is different, and everyone has a fight language, meaning everyone has a way that they best like to maintain their emotions. Amina says, what if he wants pineapples to maintain his emotions? That's a sex addiction. I shouldn't even be saying the word sex. That's an addiction, right, to pineapples, an addiction to that. That's not a way to maintain your emotions. I'll make you guys very aware of that. For those of you who might have also been thinking that, but what if he uses pineapples to manage his emotions? That's not managing your emotions. That's masking your emotions. And actually, I want to be very specific on that, because I know some of you might get that confused. There's a difference between masking your emotions and managing your emotions, okay? Sleeping with someone is masking your emotions. Going to the club is masking your emotions. Drinking Henny, Belvedere, 1942, Ciroc, no Diddy, Casamigos, that is masking your emotions. Lighting up a joint every time you get angry, that is masking your emotions, okay? Dealing with your emotions and learning how to manage them is, I go to the gym, or I go for a walk, or I run. Some people love to run. Or I, journal. I don't know many men that'll actually do that. Or, I work on my music. I paint. I read. Whatever. That is working through your emotions. Masking your emotions is when you're using either some form of substance or using some form of distraction, in the sense of I want to just sleep with someone or get with someone or distract myself with someone, as opposed to looking inward, okay? All the things that are maintaining and managing will always be looking inward. All the things that are masking will always be looking externally to have something else just kind of take control of them, so they don't have to think about it or deal with the situation, okay? Right? Gigi says Hennessy takes me to La La Land. That's funny. Okay. So I hope that makes sense to you guys, right? You need to understand if a guy is tamed or untamed in his emotions. Do you guys have any questions about that? Right? Someone says, how should we know a good guy from a bad one? These are kind of the things that we are discussing here today, right? You know, someone says red wine. I would say that is masking because once again, that's external and that's not, so I'll give you an example, right? You have to think to yourself, is red wine actually getting you through the situation, or is red wine just helping you feel better in the moment, but your situation is still the situation, right? You have to be thinking to yourself, like in its essence, what is that thing that you're doing actually doing for you? Drinking alcohol is not actually helping you work through the emotion. You're just drinking alcohol so you might get drunk and feel good and forget about your problem or forget about your anger. But when you wake up the next day, you're still going to be angry. It doesn't really allow you to work through anything. Okay. Just to help keep you guys in mind, you should be able to spot the difference between something that's meant to mask emotions and something that's meant to manage emotions. Okay. It shouldn't be that hard to tell the difference. Okay. So BB says, damn, Tommy want us to date to be a Buddhist. I'm not saying that doing any of those things makes you a bad person, but I just want to be honest with you that a lot of the things that people will say they utilize to get through things aren't actually getting them through anything. They're just helping to put a Band-Aid on what they were supposed to be working through, and so they don't actually end up working through it. Why do you think everyone says that I need therapy? Or not me specifically, but just says in general, oh, I should be going to therapy. Because majority of their time is spent masking emotions rather than working through them in some way, shape, or form, okay? So, filtered or unfiltered, maze or path, counterfeit or crumpled, tamed or untamed. By the way, guys, I just want to make you guys aware, anytime I talk about either substances, drinking, or partying, or pineapple addiction, I want you guys to understand I'm never talking to you from a place where, oh, I'm better than you. And guys, I never do any of those things. So I want you to understand that if you do any of those things, you're such a horrible person. I have participated in a lot of the things that we discuss are bad and not good in the Players Club, okay? And I've actually worked myself through a lot of them, maybe not all of them, but a lot of them, which is why I'm here in front of you today. Not because I'm better than you, but because I've also been you and I'm still you, okay? I just want you guys to never forget that. So filtered, unfiltered, maze or path, counterfeit or crumpled, tamed or untamed. And number 5, you need to understand the reason for the season, okay? Now, I know this one sounds fancy and really nice and sparkly, but it's very serious. The reason why I call it the reason for the season, okay? Very important to when you're trying to build something with someone and you want this to eventually become official. You need to know very, very clearly. This is the last one. And remember, I said the first one was super important, and this last one is just as important as that first one. It needs to be hyper clear to you that 2 things. First of all, that he's aware of why his relationships haven't worked out in the past. And he's also aware of what he contributed to his relationships not working out in the past. Why is this so important and such important information for you before you make it official with someone? If you notice a pattern in that person's previous relationships and why those relationships ended, and you know that you react to things very similarly to how his exes have reacted to things, and he's never going to stop being the person that he's going to be, well then, that's going to tell you and clue you into the fact that you're more than likely going to struggle from the same things that his past relationship struggled with. Okay? So let me give you an example of that. Let's say for the sake of argument, he said that, me and my ex, my past ex, we were really toxic because she had such an anxious attachment style, and she was so clingy, and she would call me all the time, 24/7. I literally couldn't get a break from her. So I ended up just going out to the club and drinking with my boys, and I wouldn't tell her, and I wouldn't come home because I was just tired of her just like bombarding me all the time with messages and texting and calling all the time, and I just needed my space. And let's say for the sake of argument, in the process of him telling you why his relationship ended and why his other relationships have ended in the past, you start to hear a lot of similar patterns in him being with someone who's really anxiously attached. And when they push forward towards him and they really try to smother him, he starts to rebel against that, go out with his boys, start drinking and all that good stuff or bad stuff, I should say. And then you think to yourself, oh, I'm just as anxiously attached. Oh, I get really nervous when a guy doesn't text me every 5 minutes. Oh, I like to Snapchat every 30 seconds and my Snapchat score is 1 million. Oh, I really like to be by my partner every second of every single day, and I bombard him with text if he doesn't answer me. I think I'm very close and emotionally very similar to his exes. He's the same person, and I'm very emotionally similar to his exes. I wonder the types of problems we're going to face in our relationship. So the reason that I call it the reason for the season is because he needs to understand the reason why his relationships have not worked out and why he is in front of you today, a single man. Everyone has reasons, okay? And I want to make you very aware, a person's reasons should never be it's all other people's fault. If someone tries to tell you when they're sitting on a date with you that the reason for the season and the reason that I'm single is all other people's fault, please quickly finish eating your food. Actually, no, call the waiter over and ask him for a box, a takeaway box. Pack your meal. I don't care if you only took one bite of the steak. Pack your entire meal in there, pour your water in like your knapsack or your purse or something like that, and please run as fast as you can. If someone sits in front of you on a dinner date and tries to tell you that the reason for the season and the reason that they're single is in all his relationships is all someone else's fault and all his ex's fault, that is a clear sign that you're dealing with someone with no accountability that will never be able to acknowledge doing anything wrong in your relationship. You can't do anything with those people. Please run away from those people. But you really do need to be understanding what is the reason for the season. Why are you single here today? What has transpired in your relationships that didn't allow those relationships to work out? Now, you don't have to ask him, hey, tell me why you're single. You don't need to ask him that, okay? What I want you to ask is, looking back, this is if you want a direct question, looking back on your previous relationships, right? Or your most previous one, let's keep it just to one for now. On your most recent relationship, what do you think you contributed to it ending? Now, someone who understands the reason for the season will be able to tell you or give you some sort of clear answer as to why that relationship ended or what they may have contributed. Someone who can't take accountability or just doesn't want to take accountability will either avoid that question or just not answer that question flat out and blame it on someone else. Okay? The reason I want you to understand the reason for the season is while he might be thinking he's talking to you about a past situation, he doesn't realize that he's actually telling you a lot about what your future will be like. So you need to be thinking to yourself, what are the reasons that your relationships have ended? Because if those reasons are going to be very similar reasons and with very similar outcomes in our relationship, then why am I entertaining myself with you? If you sit here and you hear how this guy in his past relationships has only ever cheated on all of his exes, and that's the only reason all of his, well, not only reason, but the main reason why all of his relationships have ended, why are you sitting on a dinner date trying to build a relationship with someone who has only ever cheated on all of his partners? This is probably going to be the most painful part of the show. I need you to rid yourself of the mindset that you are so different that the way he has treated other people in the past is going to be drastically different than he'll treat you. Okay? Not that you're not special, but I want to prevent you from building this narrative in your mind that, hey, despite the fact that you treat everyone like garbage and despite the fact that you're a horrible person, I'm gonna hold off and wait for you to show me how horrible you are before I decide that I shouldn't be investing myself in you. Okay? I just want to make you aware that the best thing and most efficient use of your time is to get that information and then say to yourself, oh, actually, a lot of what I'm hearing, not someone that I'm going to want to invest my time and energy into. Not because I don't believe that you could possibly treat me better or maybe be different all of a sudden, but the likelihood as to which you have been this person your entire life and all of a sudden with me, everything's going to be drastically different is highly unlikely, because people have patterns and people, even more importantly, have patterns of behavior. So if he's done a lot of this in the past, and there's a very specific reason for the season he's here, there's a high likelihood that the same reason for the season that he's been single is the same reason for the season that this relationship will end eventually. Not to make you feel so morbid, but I just need you to be aware of that. Okay, I really have to be honest with you about that, and not to have this expectation that, yeah, a guy who's treated every woman in his life horribly will all of a sudden treat me like a princess. He doesn't even know how to treat women like princesses. He hasn't done it. So what, all of a sudden he's going to learn with you? Why? What's the difference? Because it's you? That's not how that works. Okay. Gigi says, I asked a guy why his relationship ended. He said she cheated. I feel like he's lying and he cheated. That's a great point, Gigi. So whenever someone says something like that, oh, she cheated or she did this or she did that, I always want you to be skeptical, right? I'm not saying that you should believe they're lying. Be skeptical and ask more questions. Be more curious. Never stop being curious and never stop trying to gather more information. Never, ever. So if someone tells you, oh, she cheated, then ask, okay, so explain to me. Obviously, it's not just one day she cheated. Explain to me, like, what was happening in your relationship? Like, how did it end? How did you get to that point? What were the signs that you noticed? What were the things that, kind of like, did you notice that she may have been cheating before that time that you caught her? Or how did you catch her, right? All of these things that you'll start asking someone. If the story is true, and the story actually happened, a lot of the things, when he's telling you about the details of how those things transpired, will be making sense. Now, if the story is untrue or he's leaving very important key elements out, as he begins to describe to you more and more detail, you'll start to say to yourself, wait, she cheated on you, but you always go out to the club with your boys and get drunk? Wait, what? She cheated on you, but she was complaining about the fact that you guys don't ever spend time together? What? She cheated on you, but you just had no idea anything was going on, and you just one day you came back and you found out she was cheating? No signs, no nothing, no conversation. You guys didn't even have fights. Just one day you walked in and she was cheating. Sounds not very logical, right? And you'll start to notice, like I always tell you guys, we talk about a whole bunch of stuff in the Players Club, and I know that when we're here, I'm throwing a lot of information at you. And I know it feels very hard and complicated to implement the information that we discuss. But I also want to make you aware that as you actually practice this in your dating stages and your talking stages, you'll become really good at understanding how to maneuver around this, how to ask good questions, and how to extract really good information. It'll become like a skill set, and I know that because I developed a skill set. It's like a muscle that you train, that when you're on dates, you know how to ask questions, you know how to extract information, you know how to analyze information and make inferences. What I mean by that is understand what someone's actually saying by not saying certain things, or by leaving certain things out, or by describing a situation a particular way. It's a skill set that you begin to build over time, okay? Right? Snow says everything will make sense the more you question it. I 100% agree with you. Okay. I don't want you guys to be, I don't want to turn you guys into pessimists, but I do want to make you guys as curious as I possibly can. Okay. I want you, if you're going to join the Players Club, to be the most curious version of yourself that you possibly can be. Because the more curious you are, and the more questions you ask, And the deeper you dig, you will discover a whole host of information that you never thought possible. And even better, this is the most amazing part. When you get curious and you start digging for things, you will have people tell you things that they never in a million years thought they would ever say out loud to people. And that's when you'll really start getting somewhere with someone, because you'll be understanding them on levels that nobody else understands them. And you'll be holding all the cards because you'll have so much power at your fingertips with all of that information. I'll be the first to tell you, all the men in your life that have been able to manipulate you the easiest, it's because they've had the most information about you. No one will be able to manipulate you without having really good information about you. This is why I always tell you that information is the most powerful thing you can possibly have in your life, and especially in your relationships. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay. So do you guys have any questions about what we just discussed today? So number one was filter or unfiltered. Number two was the maze or the path. Number three, counterfeit or crumple. Number four, tamed or untamed. And number five, the reason for the season. Okay, right? Lida says, asked him what happened in his past. He answered, there isn't a thing that did not happen to me. What? So that just sounds like denial, right? So if someone's telling you that their past consists of nothing, or they're really, really keen on like avoiding talking about the past because the past is the past, 100% of the time, that is someone that has something to hide. Okay? I just never, ever forget that. If someone is actively trying to avoid discussing the past with you, it is because they're trying to hide something 100% of the time. There is no world or reason someone on a date with you is going to be trying to not discuss the past with you, especially when you explicitly asked about it, unless they're trying to hide something. Okay, it's just that logically, it doesn't make sense. If they're proud of what they did, or they're proud of what transpired, or they feel like it makes them look good, it would make no sense to not share that. Because remember, you're on a date with someone to be the most desirable version of yourself. So if someone knows that a story or a past situation makes them either look more desirable, or makes them look more interesting, or just makes them look better overall, they're gladly going to share with you that information. If they know deep down in their heart that that information is probably going to make them undesirable to you, then they're more likely to hold that in and not share that with you. Then it becomes your job to figure out how you're going to extract that information. Okay? Right? Mary says, for women, it is just extremely hurtful and it's not safe. Men use it against us. Well, I want you to understand, yes, I know that we talk about men on this show, but it's not just a men thing. People are always looking to get the best out of life. So when they go out on a date, they want the person they're on a date with to like them. So of course, they're not going to tell you all the ways you shouldn't like them. Just that's unnatural, right? Based on what they desire and what they want for themselves. So the best thing for you to do is rid yourself of the mindset that everyone's going to come out and tell you why you shouldn't like them, and figure out how you start extracting information so you can figure out why you might not like them. Okay. Lizzie said his ex, he said he and his ex ended on good terms, but they don't follow each other as friends. Okay. Now, the good terms thing is, I'm glad you actually brought that up. The good terms thing is also something to look out for. I know I make you guys be like, another thing to look out for, another thing to look out for. Be curious about everything, because the ending on good terms thing, for some people, can mean we just broke up because we had differences or whatever. And, you know, I don't hate her, she doesn't hate me, but we don't speak. But a lot of times it can mean ending on good terms can meaning in some way, shape, or form, we're still in each other's life. Not saying that that's your specific situation. I forgot the name of the person I just asked the question. But there's a lot of times where the ending on good terms is actually a rephrase and a reskin of, yeah, we still kind of see each other. We're still in the same friend group. We don't want to cause a whole bunch of problems and a whole bunch of dramas. We still kind of talk a little bit. We still kind of see each other here and there. So things aren't horrible. I don't hate her. She doesn't hate me. Okay. One of the things you always have to be thinking of, if you guys ended on such good terms, Why are you not in a relationship anymore? Okay. You got to be curious about stuff. Don't let people fool you into believing in buzzwords and terminology that sounds good in a teen drama. Okay. We ended on good terms, sounds good in a teen drama, but what does that actually mean? If that was your whole girlfriend and you ended on such good terms with your whole girlfriend or a girl you were even maybe eventually going to marry, how can you end on such good terms but actually end? If the terms were so good, why not just continue the relationship? So why don't you get to telling me how the terms were not so good? Because if you're only here to tell me how good the terms ended on, it only makes me feel like you might still be invested in that relationship. Okay? Like I said, get curious, right? Get skeptical where you're always trying to dig and ask more questions, not just accepting what someone will tell you because it sounds like you're like, okay, that sounds good to me. That's what I would want to hear. Okay. Right. Not that ending on good terms is a bad thing, but if a relationship ends, it's usually not for good reasons. So the idea that it's such good terms, but the relationship ended logically doesn't make sense. Okay. Right? Either he had a problem with something or you had a problem with something or you both had a problem with something and things weren't working, which is why the relationship would end. Okay. Unity says, what if he says, why are you asking too many questions like a detective? This is where it comes in where you want to be enchanting him in the process of asking him these questions, where you don't want him to feel like you're asking these questions because you're trying to write this down in your notebook and because Thompson told you to ask a bunch of questions. You want to make him feel like I'm asking you these questions because you're the most fascinating, interesting person I've ever met. I literally am just cast under a spell by your interesting amazingness, awesomeness, and hearing you talk about your amazing James Bond lifestyle. You're like James Bond. Okay. And hearing you talk about your relationships and how you dealt with this and how you did that and how, your job is this and how your life is that. I just can't get enough of how amazing and awesome you are. I would love to just sit here and hear you tell stories of your life for hours. It just takes me over the moon. It gets me so wet. It gets me so lubricated. I can't believe how interesting and awesome you are. Okay. Just throw them that. I promise you, you're probably thinking, oh my God, Thompson, you want me to lay it on that thick? Yes. Because what will happen to those men is when you feed their ego like that, see, you're doing something for them to do something for yourself. When you feed their ego like that, they get lost in, oh, I'm the man, aren't I? I'm so interesting, aren't I? I guess, since you say I'm like James Bond, did you know I jumped out of an airplane one time? It was in a video game, but one time I jumped out, I thought about it. And me, I'm everywhere, I promise you, one day I was talking to this girl and then the next day, my girlfriend, she left the work party and would like my work wife, she was coming up and talking to me. I mean, I tell you, my life is interesting. You really want to hear the story of my work wife? Nah, you don't want to hear the story. I'm like James Bond. Okay, I'll tell you the story. I promise you, when you can enchant people like that, they get lost in the loop of feeling like, wow, you think I'm interesting? Wow, you want to hear what I have to say? Wow, you want to hear more about me? And they just keep yapping and they keep yapping and they actually think they're doing something good by telling you all of their horrible, bad stories that make them look horrible. And you smile, give them positive feedback. You make them feel like, even though you're telling me a story that makes you look horrible, I'm so happy to hear this. They keep telling you more and more and more. And then you can go on the date and say, cool, James, never speaking to him again. I don't like him. I don't like what he stands for. I don't like how he goes about his relationships. Okay. You just take the information. And when you have the information, now you know how to do something with it. Okay. Very, very easy process there. Right. Does that make sense? Right. Someone says, let me scroll up. Someone says, away, James. Let me scroll up. Someone said, yeah, they never stop talking. Foxy says, what if he ghosted you but now wants to come back after months? Do men change? If he ghosted you and wants to come back, you should watch my video where I talk about men coming back and why they come back and what you should do when he comes back, okay? Lida says, why is it a bad idea to say yes to him offering to going on vacay together knowing me 2 weeks? him offering to go on vacay with you after knowing you 2 weeks is a really easy way for him to speed up the process of feeling like this relationship is really intense, really, really fast. And see, the thing about it is when you're on vacation with someone for 2 weeks and you're seeing them, or sorry, he's only known you for a few weeks. Let's say he goes on vacation with you for a month and this vacation lasts 1 week, vacation with you for a week. And when he's seeing you every single day, you guys are sleeping in the same bed. You guys are going out, getting drunk together, having fun, going places together. You see, it starts to feel like a relationship so much faster than you guys have actually known each other for. And so the faster it feels like a relationship because you're on vacation, what do you think you're going to do on probably the 4th or 5th date when you guys get drunk for the 4th or 5th night together and spend, you know, the 4th or 5th date in a row together? It's going to start feeling like you're living with him. Going to start feeling like you're actually his girlfriend. Going to start feeling like you guys are actually going to be something serious. And then what happens? You sleep with him. And by the time you come back from the relationship, he says, so glad I got to spend some time jackrabbing myself inside of you. I'm going to go do a thing now that doesn't consist of talking to you for the next couple of weeks. Okay? A very easy way to speed someone up into feeling like a girlfriend before they're actually ever a girlfriend, especially when he's only known you for a short amount of time and he, you know, going on vacation with you where it's going to be really intense, really fast like that. Okay? Does that make sense? All right, guys. With that being said, it is now time. A very special time in the show. You're going to love this time, and I want you to love this time because this is such an amazing time. Can you tell me in the chat what time it is? I want to know what time it is. Here we go now. In the chat, what time is it? I want to know what time it is. Here we go now. In the chat, what time is it? I want to know what time it is. Here we go now. In the chat, what time it is? I want to know what time it is. Here we go. In the chat now, what time is it? In the chat now, tell me what time is it? In the chat now, what time is it? In the chat now, tell me what time is it? I want to know what time it is. I want to know what time it is. I want to know. I want to know what time it is. I want to know what time it is. I want to know. I want to know what time it is. I want to know what time it is. I want to know. Okay, guys. So for those of you who are new here and don't know what Discord time is essentially where all the amazing members of the Discord get an opportunity to ask me questions in our Players Club Discord, and I answer them live on the show and give advice as to how you should move forward in your relationship or situationship live on the show, as well as the chat also gives their 2 cents as well. So let me make you aware of the 2 ways you can ask your question in the Discord. So we have relationship advice free version and relationship advice premium version. Now, in the relationship advice premium version, it works like any other forum. You can hop in here, you can ask your question to me, and you will be able to get your question answered. It's first come, first serve. And you see me doing scrolling. All of these highlighted questions are questions that I haven't answered yet. And it goes in order of the date that you send in your question. So if you send in your question today, unfortunately, I won't be able to get to your question until I finish all of them. And I'm about 27 days behind. So basically a month behind in the free section. Okay. Now, if you want another option, and you can always send in your question in the free version by going into the link in my description and joining the Discord and accessing the free version. Now, if you want another option, maybe you're an impatient person and you want to be able to send in your question and get it answered sooner than waiting a month, perfectly fine if you're impatient. You also have another option, which is premium relationship advice section, where it's like a VIP pass at a theme park where you get to skip the line instead of waiting in the regular line, and you get to kind of go past without waiting as long as the other people. So the way that you enter premium relationship advice section is simply by donating to the show. And all you got to do is hop over into the link in my description if you're on TikTok, or the link pin in the pinned comment if you're on YouTube, or down in the description if you're on YouTube. You access that link, and then you will be able to ask that link. And once you donate to the show, you'll be able to see a section there where it says you fill in your Discord username and you fill in the title of your question Obviously, make the title the same if you haven't made it yet. And then you hop in here. And when you post your question in the Premium Relationship Advice Discord section, I'll be able to hop on my phone because I'll receive a notification and I'll know that that was you that posted that question, so that can be credited to you. Okay. Very important that you're able to get your question verified, that that is you, so that I can know that that's you. All right. So that we can keep this all structured for everyone who's donating in chat. So if you want to donate, that link is available in my TikTok, in my TikTok bio, or in the link pinned there. And you can find where it says donate for Premium Relationship Advice there as well. Okay. So yesterday we did go halfway through another question, but it was so long. And I do want to, I love when you guys give detail, but I do want you guys to be like, a little bit understanding in terms of like, we're reading this out on a show. So this was a bit too long, right? This is like a storybook. Okay. I love you, Anna, but this was very long. Okay. And I want you guys to kind of trim it down and be really concise with your question in the situation as much as you can while still giving good detail. Okay. And so yesterday I kind of went halfway through it and we kind of ran out of time. I read it and then I answered her question on the Discord. So if you guys want to read the second half of it, you can go over there and read that. So I'm going to go straight into the next question that we have here, which comes from Dora. 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 Okay, let's go. Advice on Turning the Tables 2.0. Few remaining questions. Hello again, Tomisin. Thank you for your great advice. You brought my attention to some things I hadn't considered before. Excuse me. Good. I'm glad. I do have a few remaining questions though. When I asked for a break after I noticed he liked other girls' pictures, he said, take your time, but if I stop the relationship, I won't come back. Do you see this as a hidden ultimatum / manipulation? I didn't respond to this message at all, just left it on scene. So if a guy is saying this to you, take your time, but if I stop the relationship, I won't come back. It is an exercise of power, right? He's basically saying, hey, if you don't come back to me on bended knee eventually or soon, I might just forget about you and move on in my life. Okay. That's basically a threat. You understand what I'm saying? We haven't spoken in the last 3 days, but I'll be back in 9 days. He still watches, by the way, guys, this is a follow-up on another question, which is why she's asking it like this, just to make you guys aware. You got to be watching the show every day to know where this is stemming from. We haven't spoken in the last 3 days and I'll be back in 9 days. He still watches my IG stories in which I know how cool I spend my days visiting different places. No, not bars or clubs though. I'm glad you mentioned that. I didn't plan to reach out to him before I return. Then I have to have the painful conversation, including downgrading. Okay, so I'll give you a little synopsis on this situation so some of you aren't confused. Essentially for Dora, she found herself in a situation where a guy that she kind of liked and started dating within the first couple of, I guess, weeks and even like maybe even less than a month, honestly, she found herself the guy asking her to be his girlfriend. She said yes. So she started dating him, not knowing him. And then she started having to get to know him and know a lot of his flaws and the things that weren't working out and she didn't like about him after being his girlfriend. But then she was trying to think, how am I supposed to like deal with this or address this? How am I also supposed to take pineapples off the table now in the process of trying to address this because I'm supposed to be his girlfriend? So all of this is going to be confusing for me. So actually, ironically, Dora's situation is exactly what inspired this show, because I really wanted you all to be aware of the things you should be knowing about someone before you make things official, right? Because it's so important that you know what someone's about and you know these very particular answers and character traits about them before you commit to them. You can't commit to them first and then be discovering these things after, okay? So you then went to say, we haven't spoken in 9 days and you didn't go to the club, but you're visiting some cool places. I didn't plan to reach out to him before I return and then have to have that painful conversation, including downgrading. When she says downgrading, she means like saying that maybe let's go not boyfriend and girlfriend so that we can figure out what our relationship even is first. And then, move this in the right direction when it's time to do that. However, to my surprise, he sent me a message to say, just checking in if you're doing well, despite that I left his last message with an ultimatum on scene. I answered in a few hours that I was doing well and mentioned the wildfire happening near my city and asked if he was okay. He answered, I'm okay, just be careful there. Good night. It was 7:30, so it is so early to say goodnight, so he intentionally stopped messaging. What was the purpose of this? To remind me of his existence? I mean, yeah, sometimes guys will do that too. And he does like you, so he's gonna want to talk to you, and you're in a different place, so he's probably gonna want to just check up and make sure that you're okay and all that good stuff. Please give me some advice on how to behave further before I go back. Should I initiate a call in a few days, or should I do nothing? He still likes photos of the same girl, so you're still enduring the same problems, in swimsuits included, even though he knows I don't like it. So now you've had a conversation with him and he still does it. Does this mean he doesn't care about my feelings at all? I'll answer that in a second. How to behave so that he understands that he better not do this if he wants me. Should I mention this when we talk, meet, or just suggest the downgrading status? I think he's shocked by my silence since it's never happened before. I don't want to finish our communication, but I need to take my feelings into account and be willing to find common ground before going back to being a couple and not just whatever he wants. Okay. So 2 important things that you need to do, Dora the Explorer. So the silence is good because I know that this sounds horrible, but it shows him that you don't need him. Okay? I know this sounds horrible, but you need to show people sometimes to get what you want, you need to show people that you don't need them in your life. Like if you were to have to move on in your life without them, your life still goes on. It's a painful realization for them, but it also helps them realize that if you ever bring up something that bothers you or something that's a boundary for you or something that you dislike or you're not okay with, it reminds them that, hey, if I actually don't make an adjustment, this person will move on. It's not like I can just do whatever I want here and this person will stay because I'm the best thing in their life. They're capable of moving forward from off of me and being without me in their life. It's good to have your partner be of the belief that I can't just act however I want and do whatever I want. Okay? You want your partner to feel like, hey, I should respect boundaries. If I don't respect boundaries, you will walk away from the relationship. Never think that that's a bad thing. Okay? Never, ever think that. So you're showing him that by doing this. Now, when you come back, I do want you to make sure that the conversation you have with him is in person. This needs to be in person because multiple things need to take place. First of all, you need to talk. This downgrading thing needs to be something that you don't discuss and ask him for. It's something that you let him know. This is what needs to happen. We have jumped into things, right? And there are a lot of things that I don't think are going to work for me in a long-term relationship. We need to undo this boyfriend and girlfriend thing so that I can figure out for myself, just make it about you. You don't even have to speak on him. I can figure out for myself, are you the person I'm actually looking for or not? Because I made the mistake of saying yes to being your girlfriend before I was able to answer that question for myself. And I need to answer that question for myself. So what it's going to do is it's going to make him do some thinking, because you've already mentioned to him the liking other girls' pictures. So he's not an idiot. He already knows that, right? And what's going to happen is when you start saying, I need to reevaluate if you're what I want, it's going to make him start thinking, what have I been doing or not doing that has not been in line with what she wants? And that's good. You want his mind to start moving in that direction. However, if he becomes desperate, he might say, well, we don't need to break up. We just need to fix the issues. Then you rebuttal that with, no, we need to break up so that the issues have a possibility of getting fixed. I can't continue to be in a relationship with you while we try to fix these issues because the relationship is only supposed to come after we acknowledge that we can work in a relationship. We can't hop into one and then be actively on the fly trying to figure out how to have one. Right? So, and we're kind of doing things backwards here. So you need to stand strong and stand firm on that. And then you need to allow him to make the decision for himself on, okay, Am I prepared to actually do the hard thing, which is make the adjustment so that we can eventually be in a relationship? Or am I going to throw a tantrum and tell her something like this where, oh, if you don't want to talk to me, take your time, but I might just move on. Cool. Then move on. But if you're serious about building something, you'll understand that a real relationship requires work and requires effort. And I'm not saying that we're not going to build something here. What I am saying is let's build things in the right order. A mature adult who actually wants to be with you in a healthy relationship can accept that. Someone who is immature or can't doesn't have the emotional maturity to understand that will not be able to see the nuance through which you're speaking through. If he's immature in his emotional maturity, he'll respond like, oh, you probably just want to date someone else, or you probably just want to be single so you can go shake your booty on a boat somewhere, so you can go start having your cake and eating it too. An immature man might say something like that, but a mature man would be able to understand, you know what? We did start dating after 2 weeks. And you know what? There were a lot of things that we didn't know about each other when we started dating. Maybe it would be good for us to downgrade this, figure out how to work through our issues, then we can be in a relationship, because you're not at all going to be saying that you don't want a relationship. You're not even going to be saying that you want to be single. You're just going to be saying, let's do this the right way. Okay? The same way it wouldn't make sense to meet a stranger, marry them first, and then start figuring out if you like the person that you already married, is the same way you can't be going out, making someone your boyfriend or girlfriend, and then be actively trying to figure out, do we have a relationship here? Do we have things that can work here in this relationship? Are we going to work for each other or not? You can't be figuring that after the fact, right? And so that's why you need to present that to him that way in person and have that conversation with him, and then subsequently downgrade the relationship. And if he wants to come with his ultimatum, then let him have his ultimatum. You've already shown him that you're willing to move on without him if he's not prepared to show up for you in the way that he wants you to. And that's how it should be. Don't get scared. Don't get nervous. He likes you too. Sometimes when you're negotiating with someone and you have to exercise your leverage, they're going to threaten you with backing out of the situation so that you'll say, never mind. But I want to assure you that the best thing for you to do is to never back down off your stance, especially if that's something that you know you want out of the relationship. Okay. Next here we have, after Dora the Explorer. Next here we have, let's see. We have Tia. Tia says, what should I do? Tia says, hi, Tom. Thanks for what you do. Thank you for being you. You're an angel. You too. So I went out with this guy on 2 dates. We text every day when we don't see each other. He never misses a day, and we text for hours. I noticed after the second date, he took 2 weeks to ask me out on the third, but texted every day after work. The third date is scheduled for this Tuesday, but I did not hear from him the last 2 days of last week. Then texted today saying he has been busy and I didn't reply. It's weird for someone that texts every day to just not text for 2 days. It takes a second to send to check in. I feel he is becoming uninterested or something. I am thinking to just cancel if he asks me about our date. I am a bit turned off. Do you think I should still go? Am I overthinking? Okay, great question, Tia. So, let's establish a timeline here real quick. You went out on 2 dates with this guy. So I'm making an assumption. Let's just say in the process of you going out on 2 dates with this guy, you met him around the same amount of time you started going out on dates. So not too long ago, probably around a month, if not less than that, you've met him. While he might have shown you that he, regularly texts every day with you normally, I still need you to understand you've only been out on 2 dates with him. So there is no sense of like exclusivity here, okay? Not yet, at least. It's okay. It's not a crime, but you need to be just a little bit patient, right? And understand that he might have other things going on in his life that you are not aware of. And I know that it's painful that he didn't text you for 2 days. And I'm not even saying that that's necessarily a good thing that he didn't text you for 2 days or whatever. Okay. I understand why it would give you anxiety, but I just need you to be patient and allow him to show you how much he wants you. The worst thing you can do in a position very early on is try to get a guy to talk to you more and communicate you more and want to see you more. You understand what I'm saying? I know 2 days is a lot, and I see some of you like, oh my God, 2 days? That's a long time, Thompson. How can you let this guy not talk to you for 2 days? I know. I'm agreeing with you that it's a long time. All right. I'm acknowledging that it's a long time and that's stressful and that will build your anxiety. But what I also want you to understand is there's nothing you can do to tell a man, hey, you should speak to me more, or you should want to speak to me more. You should want to speak to me every day. You should want to see me every single day and go out on a date with me every single day. Anytime you try to think to yourself, I'm going to say that so that he'll want that, you will only end up chasing after him, trying to get him to want something that he doesn't even want for himself. Okay? So weirdly and oddly enough, the best thing for you to do is sit back and chill out and allow him to message you when he is ready to message you. And then if you get the sense down the road that he doesn't feel it necessary to message you all the time, and he's really kind of pulling back and he'll kind of hit you up sometimes and not hit you up other times, then you get to make the decision for yourself. Is your inconsistency something that I'm not willing to deal with? If it's not, then I just move on with my life and I don't bother wasting my time on you. The goal here is to see who he really is by observing his actions unfiltered, not trying to turn him into someone that you want him to be when that's not him in general. You understand what I'm saying? So when you go out on these dates with him, this is a little sneaky tip that I want to give you here, Tia. When you go out on this date with him, do not make that date a 5-6 hour date. Cut it short. Make it 2 hours, 2.5 hours max. Do not go over to his place. Don't be sleeping over. The reason I don't want you doing any of that is because we want him, after he has such a good, amazing date with you, we want him immediately after that to say, wow, that 2 hours flew by. I need to see you again in very quick succession. And you want to keep building that and keep building that so that every time he just finishes seeing you, he says to himself, gee, I would love to see you again in a couple of days. That feels like it wasn't enough. You never, ever, ever want to make yourself mundane and boring very quickly by going out on a 5, 6, 7, 8 hour day where after he spends that entire day with you, he says, yeah, cool. Was fun. I had fun, but I don't think that I need to see you for a week. We had a good time. 8 hours was a long time, right? Someone says 1 minute max. That's funny, right? So cut that date short. Make it 2.5 hours maximum. Don't go sleeping over at his place. And then aside from the texting, it's early on still. So let him text you as much as he's willing to text you. And let's see how much he really likes you. Okay. And let's see how much he's really going to be intentional about this. Because you're going to get fake intentional if you just tell him to text you more and he does that. Right? Because that's not him actually showing you how much he likes you. That's him showing you that he can follow the orders that you set for him. Because the orders that you set for him will make it easier for him to sleep with you. Okay. Next we have here Ayan. I think that's how you pronounce the name. Ayan says, Mr. didn't pay for my coffee. Ayan says, hi, Thompson. On October 2021, I'm 25, 22 then, downloaded Tinder for the first time. Okay, mistake already. I was still learning to use these buttons and accidentally sent a super like to a guy who's 27, who was 24 then, who's in the military. I thought he was cute, so I started talking to him, but then unmatched him when I realized I didn't want a dynamic where I showed so much interest first. I didn't tell him the super like was an accident, okay? Early 2022, he sends me a like on Hinge. We started talking again and went out for coffee, okay? Let's see. What the heck? And went out for a coffee shop. I was in line first and he ordered my coffee. I looked back and he didn't say or do anything. So I paid for my own coffee. maybe, do you think, okay, I do want to preface this. Maybe he didn't recognize that that was you because, like, I get he swiped you on Hinge as well, but you also have to remember guys are swiping on so many people. Okay. But let's go on. I'm a bit confused, but let's go on. As far as I know, the date was, oh, wait. Oh, sorry. You went out for, sorry. I thought you said you met him at a coffee shop. I don't know why I glitched there. Okay, so he didn't pay for the coffee, so I'm just rereading that. As far as I know, the date was over then and there. I mentally checked out. I have never had a man not pay for me. Shortly after the date, I stopped replying to him and we lost contact. A year later, he sends me a follow request on IG and I ignore it. Late 2023, I re-downloaded the apps. He sends me a rose on Hinge. We started talking again, but then I couldn't get over the fact that he didn't pay for my coffee despite me being very, very attracted to him. So I unmatched him again. Okay, so this is part of the thing where I call it like decide what you want. So if you don't like men that won't pay for your meal or your coffee or your dinner, don't date men who won't pay for your coffee, meal, or dinner. The reason I say like decide what you want is if you don't like him because he doesn't fit the criteria of what you're looking for, then don't bother wasting any time on him. See, what you said is one of the issues that a lot of you struggle from. You're saying, despite I'm very, very attracted to him, which basically means I want to make an exception for him because I really like this guy and want this to work. So even though the way he treats me doesn't work for me, because I want it to work, I think I might make an exception for him. That's always going to be a mistake. Always 100% of the time. Fast forward to 2024, I'm at the library at my uni, and guess who comes up to me? Mr. Didn't pay for my coffee. Turns out he transferred to my university. He starts talking to me and asks me about my life, etc. for 10 minutes. Before he left, he asked for my socials and I gave it to him. Since then, he has been liking my IG stories occasionally, snapping me, and I haven't responded or reciprocated until yesterday when I snapped him back. I'm somewhat interested since we have mutual interests, values, and strong attraction, but I still can't get over how he didn't pay. My question is, should I communicate my standards and give him another chance? A man not paying for dates is a deal breaker for me. Remember this, chat. Or should I not even bother because if I was his dream girl, he would have 100% paid. Thanks, Tomisin. Okay, this is a great question from I think it's Ian, right? If it's Ian, I like that name. This is a great question, Ian, because I see why you're conflicted. And here's the thing. You have to decide for yourself, like I said before, what it is that you want. So the deal breaker for you is a man not paying for your dates. I also can acknowledge that communication is key and all that good stuff. However, you have to understand that if on the very first date, there is a misalignment in what you expect from the date or how you expect to be treated and how he thinks he should be treating you, it doesn't become your job to tell a man how he should treat you and like teach a man how he's supposed to treat you like a princess. So if princess treatment for you is a man paying for your dates and he doesn't do that, full stop, and that's the end of the situation and relationship. I know that a lot of people will tell you, oh, but then you should just tell him that you wanted him to pay for your dates because then he might have not realized that he'll pay for the date and then he'll be everything that you want. No, what you're doing is instead of analyzing someone's behavior and deciding, are you the person that I'm looking for? You're finding someone that you like already, and then you're figuring out how to turn them into the person you are looking for. Okay? There's a very big difference. And the problem with this is this doesn't just happen once. This happens for the rest of the relationship where you say to yourself, oh, you do something that I don't like. You do something that doesn't align with my morals or values. You do something that I wouldn't entertain, but I really do want this to work out with you. I really do want to like you. I really do want our relationship to work. So I'm going to figure out how I can turn you into what I'm looking for, even though you haven't shown yourself to be. But maybe if I tell you enough or talk to you enough about it or communicate to you enough about what I'm looking for, then you'll slowly but surely turn into what I'm looking for. What ends up happening is guys utilize that information. Remember, I said information is king. They utilize that information, understand how to mold themselves into what you're looking for. But then after they sleep with you, they end up reverting back to who they always have been. And they only turned into what you're looking for because you gave them that information, and they realized that if they wanted you to like them, the best thing for them to do is to be exactly what you're looking for. So in this scenario, while it might seem counterintuitive, the best thing for you to do if you have such a heavy deal breaker like that is not be trying to find a man who you can like first and then teach how to treat you like a princess or pay for your dates. It's to find a man who pays for your dates, and in the process of him aligning in his morals and values and the way he treats you, then you can find a guy who you really like in that category. You understand? Right? So you should be thinking to yourself, what am I looking for in a man? Then when you identify those traits in a man, you decide to yourself, how much do I like you? Do I really like you? Do I kind of like you? Is it not that big a deal, or is it a big deal for me? Not, I really like you. How can I turn you into the man I'm supposed to be looking for? Don't do that. All right? Never do that. Next, we have here Ash. Like Ash Cash. Ash says, advice on how to proceed. Okay, let's see here. Let's make sure we give Ash some good advice on how to proceed. So Ash says, hi, I'm a 22-year-old female. I've been attracted to my coworker. He's a 21-year-old male. We work in the same department. For the longest, we just have been cordial and nothing would happen. We are both reserved and kind of quiet. I just found him attractive and moved on. Wait, what? It doesn't sound like he moved on. Recently, out of nowhere, he's been complimenting me and my outfits I wear to work, and I'm complimenting him right back. What you be wearing to work? A pencil skirt? A tight pair of jeans? What you be wearing to work? Heels? What you be wearing? So earlier this month, I'm on my lunch hour and I'm on my way to grab something to eat for lunch, and I seen him coming back from getting lunch. We walk past each other and then he talks to me. We talked for a little bit and he asked me where I'm going to eat. I told him, and then he asked if we could go on a lunch date at that place the next day. I said yes. You guys know how I feel about dating someone you work with. It usually ends up not good. The next day comes, he tells me he can't, and we have to reschedule and go another day. I said, yeah, cool. It's been 2 weeks and we haven't rescheduled and done anything. We haven't talked to each other like that since. I'm confused. I was minding my business, and if you didn't want to go to the lunch date in the first place, why talk to me and make me think there's an actual chance? What's his thoughts? What's his thought process? And I know I should do nothing and keep pushing. Is there anything else? How should I proceed? So yes, obviously the first things first you need to be doing is nothing, because there's nothing for you to be doing in this situation. Now, secondly though, if you want to understand better his thought process, let me be super real with you. Here's the thing about guys approaching girls that they work with. You have to understand that there's two things at play. You can be an attractive woman, for sure. What can also make it interesting to like approach you or pursue you is because you work where he works. He spends 8 hours minimum at that job. This is going to sound really weird. I'm just going to explain it to you from a guy's perspective. It can actually make work more interesting when you have like a work maybe not even a work wife, but a flirtatious work person that you flirt with, you talk to, you go back and forth with, you find interesting, and you're like, is something there? Are we doing a thing? Are we not doing a thing, right? And it makes work more interesting. I know that this sounds really weird. So I might have lost some of you, but this is a thing. And so in the process of that, sometimes when guys are working or at their work, they find the girl that they can do the, oh, are we doing a thing type of thing, that they can feel, that little burst of energy and that thrill, right, at work. And not all the time it necessarily means that he's really that into you. And sometimes it's just it just stems from the fact that because you work with him and because maybe you're attractive and you're interesting, you're someone that if he were to talk to you and get to know you at work, it can make work more exciting and it can make work thrilling. Because at the end of the day, you're there 8 hours a day. And things can become really boring and mundane, very quickly, being there all the time, seeing the same people. So having some sort of thing going on back and forth with someone can make it exciting. So I honestly think part of the reason he approached you is maybe he wants to turn you into that person for him. But it's not like he's pressing in his own mind that it's so serious that he's thinking to himself, damn, I'm needing to take her out to a lunch break to make this girl my wife. It's more like, oh, yeah, this is the girl that, if I want that thrill, maybe I can ask her out. Maybe I can, go out for a lunch date with her and I can have a little bit of fun, flirty energy with her and around her at work. Another one of the reasons why I say try your best, guys, to not be dating people at work, because this also happens where people, it's very weird. The same way you have some work friends that if you were to be honest with yourself, you wouldn't probably be friends with them if it wasn't for the fact you work together, is the same way some people have like work flirtatious situationships and relationships or work wives. Not because they actually like or want that type of girl, but because since I already work with you, might as well make this entertaining and interesting by having us do like a back and forth type of thing. And sometimes people do that just to simply for the thrill of it. And that's what you have to realize, Ash. If he's not seeming that pressed about it or that serious about it, it's probably because he's not that serious about it. And that's not a reflection on you, or that doesn't mean that you're a bad person or anything like that. Just like Tech just said, it's the proximity effect, right? Because you're in very close proximity, you guys work together, you're probably attractive, you probably be looking good as hell at work if he's complimenting you like that. It's something to do at work, right? That will give him a little bit of a thrill. And you just don't want to get caught in the loop of taking this more seriously than he's probably taking it, especially when he's probably just taking it as like a cheap thrill. And I wouldn't spend so much of your time thinking about what does he actually want. I don't think he wants that much from you. If he did, he would definitely, even if he really couldn't go out to the scheduled lunch that he had with you, he would at least tell you why, and he would follow up with you. That's something that someone who's more serious about you and building something with you would do. If he's not that serious or he's just bored, like Shay said, right? They're just very willy-nilly with it. That's how guys think and that's how they operate, especially at work. I'll tell you that for sure. One of the easiest things to excite yourself at work as a guy is to stroke yourself to the newest, hottest girl because she's in close proximity to you. You get a nice little fantasy going on, but it's not really something that you actually care about. You understand what I'm saying? I'm telling you the honest truth, okay? So next we have here, let's head over into the free relationship advice section. And here we have a couple questions. So Georgina says, I'm speechless. Okay. Why are you speechless, Georgina? Me, 26, I'm dating a guy who's 22 for 3 weeks. Everything explained shortly. I met this guy on Bumble and we hit it off, of course. He invited me for lunch at a place near me and we had an amazing time, connected deeply. After he walked me home and we kissed, he texted me saying he'd like to see me again. He planned another date, but I wanted to go to the beach, so he took me there. We held hands, talked about our lives, family, friends, religion, love. We went to a bar after the beach. The weather got bad. I suggested we go to my place and order food. He wasn't feeling well. He couldn't eat, but he didn't want to leave so we can spend more time together. We talked more and he left around 11 p.m. Despite only 2 dates, we felt a strong connection. I returned to my country the next day. Wait, what? You're in a different country? I returned to my country the next day, and since he texted me daily saying he really liked, since then, I think you might say, he texted me daily saying he really liked me, and asked to come visit me after he is back from his travels. I thought you said you returned to your country. However, recently his responses slowed down, and yesterday he sent me a text. He says, "Hey, I am sorry to send this message since I had such a great time with you, but I am not good at communicating online, especially during the holidays." You don't communicate well online, but you're on Bumble? Nice. It's not something I think about often, and therefore I forget. This is not really fair to you, which is the reason for this message. Maybe it is for the best to let it be. I left him on red all night and texted him the day after. It was lovely meeting. All the best. He says, it was more than lovely to meet you as well. Not gonna forget you soon. I left this message without reading it on WhatsApp. I'm so confused by the way I am moving to his city in 3 weeks, but he doesn't know. What do you think? So this is actually 3 weeks ago. So you, Georgina, I hope you're seeing this now because you're probably in his city now. So probably there might have been a lot that has changed in this time that since you asked your question. This is kind of why, for those of you that are in time sensitive situations, please do your question in Relationship Advice Premium, because it sucks when I answer your question 3 weeks later and it's just I have to answer them in order, it's kind of like things are very time sensitive. But in your situation here, Georgina, I think for you, see, here's the thing. When you first meet someone off Bumble, I know in your mind you're thinking, okay, yeah, we went out on a date, and you're feeling like really amazing about it. And it's like, okay, we're hitting it off on this date. But you also have to be aware he's meeting other people on Bumble. So you never truly know, is he going on dates with other people on Bumble as well? And here's the thing. In the process of dating someone, because you're unsure of whether he's going out on a bunch of dates with other girls on Bumble too, you're never truthfully aware of what is going on in his life outside of just you. Here's the other really important part that I need to make you and everyone else aware of. All of this pen pal long distance relationship stuff. I know in a Cinderella story, you feel like your perfect man is in Costa Rica or Nigeria or in South Africa or in London, or just basically in a place where you're not. Here's the thing though. Majority of the men who will try to convince you that they're building a long distance relationship with you are really just allowing this to go on, to have some company to talk to while they build physical relationships with other women that live close to them. Because men are physical creatures. So you get emotionally attached to the man that you're in long distance with, but he does not become emotionally attached to you. In fact, he spends all his time physically with someone else, majority of the time. And you trick yourself into a situation like this, and you end up losing. So I say that to say, Georgina, you're in a situation where I think when he realized for himself, like, I had a good time with you, but honestly, like, I'm not realistically going to build a long distance relationship with you. I think that's why he sent that message. And I think when he was texting you daily at first, it was more like still off of the high of last seeing you and still off of the high of like being with you. So he felt still a little excited about you. But as time went on, he probably thought to himself, I'm not going to see you that often. Right. And like you said, he didn't know that you were moving to his city. And he's just like, what is the actual point? I know we had fun and I know this went well, but realistically, I'm not going to travel to see you. You're probably not going to travel to see me. And even if we do, it'll be months in between. And I'm not going to want to be in a relationship where I see someone months in between. And so probably in the process of him thinking about that is why he sent you that message. And probably why he distanced himself from you is because he was a little bit unsure. And when he became sure that, look, I can't do this, he sent you that message. So honestly, I think it was a good thing. It was commendable that he sent you the message and at least was straight up with you. And I don't think that it came out of nowhere. I think it more came out of the realization that being in a long distance relationship is probably just not for him. You have to understand, for like 99% of people, being in a long distance relationship is just not going to be possible, especially when we talk about building one with someone new that like you haven't already had an established relationship with. For a majority of people, it's just not going to be a thing. And so being honest with yourself about the ability to not be able to do that is honestly pretty mature. Okay, and I know that you're confused, but I want you to be aware it doesn't come out of nowhere. All right, long distance can really, a lot of people will struggle in a long distance relationship, especially trying to get to know someone through distance. Okay, Georgina. So I hope that brings you a little bit of clarity there. Next we have here, let's see, we'll do one more here. Lust at first sight. It sounds like a juicy one, chat. Let's see what Nikki has to say. Lust at first sight. You go on to say, "Hi, Tomisin. So I'm 35. I met this guy who's 29 last month. That, at least for my standards, is insanely attractive. I saw him at the airport with a bunch of other dudes, obviously a team of athletes. Uh-oh. Some sort of martial art as far as I could tell, since they were all bruised and scary looking. Our flight got delayed, and during the wait, we started staring at each other and smiling." This a Wattpad story, chat? "He was with his mates, so he didn't do anything at this point, but he definitely seemed interested. Then I got seated right behind him and thought the whole time how hot he is, and something just pushed me to write my number on a piece of paper." Oh, wow. You are horned up. You're horned up. You're horned. It's okay. Nothing, not a crime. You're horned though. I didn't think I would actually give it to him, but as I was leaving, when we landed, he just turned at me and kept smiling as if he was just about to say something, and I knew I needed to rush for my second flight, so I slipped him my number and left quickly. Chat, this a Wattpad story, chat? She's horned up. I should read this in a more seductive way. "I saw a few minutes later he texted me, but I did not respond. After a few more minutes, he actually caught up with me and introduced himself. Wanted to make sure he got the right number and then helped me with my luggage. I was in a rush, so we didn't get to say much to each other, but we continued texting after I left to catch my second flight. He said he finds me really beautiful and wants to see me and asked me if I travel a lot and said, is it possible to visit his country end of the summer, but nothing sure. We kept texting, and after a week or two, he started getting really pineapple-y, telling me how much he wants to see me naked and touch my entire body. But he doesn't yet know when we can see each other because he is not in a situation where he can travel right now. I told him I want to see him in person and touch his body all over again and would love to hear him say those things to me. He kept saying he also wants it so badly, but no concrete plans. I did not respond to his last message since I didn't want to keep the conversation so pineapple-y influenced and vague. He hasn't messaged me again for the last 2 weeks. Before we messaged almost every day for a few weeks, him initiating. But he still keeps tabs on me on social media, likes my story, and wanks himself off to my dump truck. Should I just let this go or assure him somehow I still want him after I ignored him? Or is this just a pipe dream? Thanks. Okay, Nikki. So I'll make this real simple for you. You have to understand that while it can be thrilling and exciting to meet a guy on a plane and give him your number, and you know you really want to build something after this, similar to the question I just answered of Georgina's, after the thrill of being on a plane with someone and like slipping them, you know, your number, and oh my God, like there's so much tension between us, and oh my God, I met someone and like on a plane, and this is just like a Wattpad story. Listen, I know the fantasy gets you horned up, and I know the fantasy is really easy to rub yourself out one too. Okay, I know that. I'm a human being, so I get it. However, I want you to, okay, after you rub one out, and you get a good one in, I want you to step outside of that and really acknowledge to yourself that, like, for most people, being in a long distance relationship is just not realistic. Okay. It's not possible. And for most people, they don't have the interest in getting to know someone that they're going to be thousands of miles away from. Okay. I know that that's painful to hear, and that's not what you wanted to hear, but the reality of it is that's the life that most people are living. So after he probably got over as well the fantasy of, oh my God, I met this girl on a plane, and you probably had an amazing dump truck, which is why he couldn't stop being horned up thinking about you and smiling at you on this plane. After he got over that, and after he busted a couple of nuts, he probably realized for himself also, realistically, first of all, he can't travel, right? Because you said he can't travel right now. And so he already knows that. And the chances of you coming to see him are probably pretty slim. And even if you do want to come see him, it's probably not going to be for like months or weeks. And he probably just said to himself, look, I don't really care that much. She looks nice, but I'm not going to fly across the country and go to this city and go to that city and book flights and all that other stuff to be able to actually see her. So he was probably having pineapple heavy conversations with you because, yeah, it's a great fantasy, a great, nice fantasy to get yourself horned up to and, squirt one out. But it's after that, not really going to do you much good. Okay? Not really going to do you much good, to be honest with you. And that's the reality of it. You want to be making, like, I know you're confused why he would stop talking to you, but it's not really that confusing when you take into account that for a majority of people, they just aren't going to be able to build a long distance relationship with someone they've never met. Like I said to Georgina, it's one thing to start close together, knowing each other, and then going into long distance because of work or school or whatever, family. It's another thing to like literally not know anything about someone and then try to build a long distance relationship from not knowing anything about them. Very, very difficult to do. And you have to have someone who's super intentional about you to be able to do that. And most men are not going to be that intentional about you enough to do that. Okay. So that's honestly just the reality. All right. I wanted to acknowledge a super chat here from Electric Field. Electric Field says, gratifying and hilarious ASMR. Maybe depending on the story, I'll read it in a different voice every time. If the story is like something lustful or something intimate, I'll give you guys some different narration voices so that it just keeps being different. Anyways, that's the show for today. I hope you guys got some value out of that. If I didn't answer your question, don't fret, don't fear. I will answer your question on future shows because there's plenty of shows where I answer all these amazing Discord questions in the live stream. All right. If you want to by the way, if you want to send in your question into the VIP premium relationship advice section, all you got to do is go over into the TikTok bio, click the link, and then where it says donate for premium relationship advice, you just click donate for premium relationship advice, and you can put in the title of your Discord name and the title of your question. I verify it's you, and then you can ask your question there. Okay. For those of you who don't want to skip the line, if you just want to do regular Discord advice, you can just put it in the regular section as well. And for the link is also in the pin comment or down in the description for those of you on YouTube as well. Nicole donates $5 in the YouTube chat. You guys love the super chats at the end. For that seductive voice, thank you. You are younger than my youngest son, but so anointed and wise. Thank you very much, Nicole. I appreciate the compliment there. I'll give you guys some more different narration voices. Okay, we'll have a whole thing with this. We'll have characters with this and all that good stuff. All right. So if you guys want to follow me on Instagram because you love me so much, you want to see everything that I'm doing at all times of the day, my Instagram is available on the top left of the screen there, and you can follow me and see everything that I do on a daily basis. And it's also available on the bottom right of the screen for you there as well. For those of you who are on TikTok and you miss parts of this show and you want to rewatch parts of this show, it's available on my YouTube page right above my head on the right side of the top right side of the screen. You type in my name on YouTube and you'll be able to find, when you go over to the live section, you'll be able to find this live stream along with all the other live streams I've ever done in the past with the YouTube and TikTok chat embedded in the video. So yes, those of you on TikTok will be on the video when you're chatting, and you'll be able to follow along with all the amazing conversation that's going on in there as well. All right, guys, I'm here every weekday, Monday to Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you got to figure out what time that is in your time zone and be here or be square. All right. Until we meet again at 4 p.m. Eastern, goodbye for now. Arrivederci, adios, au revoir, hasta la vista, bon voyage, like a supervillain. And I will see you again tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bye for now. And I love